think you're speaking about the Rand report, Civil Democratic Islam, that was written by Charles Bernard, and to frame how the policy needs to be implemented. Again, that's where we are right now in the Muslim world, about the various Islamic trends that have to be put in confrontation with one another, in the hope that the secular modernist Muslim that is closer to the Western world would be actually coming forth. But in order to do that, you have to put the traditionalists against the fundamentalists, the Sufis, bring them into the picture, provide training, create alternative leadership. That's where we are. But one has to also understand that it is also driven by states, meaning Muslim majority states, their leadership, who are post-colonial leadership. They're there as custodians of the post-colonial state. They're custodians of the economy that is neoliberal economy that is infused and is a service economy to the global north. So while Charles Bernard writes Civil Democratic Islam, the question is, why is it that these states in the Muslim majority states and their political elites are utilizing and using this as a way or as a form to try to transform the society? And again, my point that I would insist on, that since the end of the Cold War, the type of Islam that was utilized for that period is now done with. And now there's a relationship between whether it's the Rand Corporation, CIA, the British intelligence, and then the Muslim world intelligence services to produce the new and improved Islam, because that project that ran from the 1950s until the early 90s is done with. So now we have to deprogram the Muslim subject and to really reassert a particular type of a state and a particular type of the society in the Muslim world. So one has to be very, very, very critical of this instrumentalization, as well as creating another internal conflict in the Muslim world. The end result of it will be death and destruction again, and we will lose another generation or two for no other reason than continue to affirm a post-colonial state that is a service state to the United States and Western Europe. Just recently, I finished writing a chapter on just if you think France continues to dominate the Francophone zone, the 14 countries that are ex-colonies of France. France has introduced since the 1960s its own currency to regulate the economies of these 14 ex-colonies. They're mandated to deposit their foreign reserves in the French treasury, and which allows and gives France the domination of their total economy, as well as create the engine for the French economy, because these deposits are utilized by France in a variety of ways, and also constantly have a veto power over the political discourses of these 14 ex-colonies. That's why we see just yesterday or 2 days ago the coup in Senegal. And this becomes the way. If you don't follow the prescription of a post-colonial state and a post-colonial elite, then very sure, if you don't play along with the IMF, World Bank, and the economic hitmans that are there, then we send the jackals. Your own military will have a coup, and then they send you to exile in that way. That's the type of politics that is operable across the Muslim world. So to think that we are independent, we are sovereign, we have self-determination, I think those have to be set aside and to really examine the reality of what is taking place. I often think many of the global South states are more like a franchise, that is franchise with a brand name that is given to them, but the franchise headquarters either is in Washington or the US or in London, France, and the global north. And basically, if you don't fulfill the obligation of the franchise agreement, then you are either your economy will run into a major crisis, or we send the jackals and you'll get a coup by a military officer who happened to have been trained in the US or in Britain or France and so on, and you can continue to replicate that type of process. So the civil democratic Islam thesis that have been put forth by Iran, it is put forth in a post-colonial state that has not yet extricated itself from any aspect of colonial control.